Hey, what's going on? YST here. Welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, you may have seen by the thumbnail, you may have seen by the title, but today we've got a 225 million Ultra Nightmare team without Unkillable. Yes, it's very in-game champions, but before we get started, guys, I just want to give a huge shout out to the original creator of this composition, and he goes by the name of Pavo, so let's not discredit him and show some appreciation. And also to all the other amazing content creators like Deadwood Jedi, ENG Gaming, Scratch AK47, Murder Inc, and people like Victor Tez that continues to exceed limits with 300 million plus teams. All of you guys are amazing, so keep up the good work. And on top of that, one huge shout out for my boy Fisher, because without him I wouldn't be able to bring this video to you guys today, because I personally don't have these champions on my account, so without him I wouldn't be able to showcase it. So this team is based off increased defense, strengthen, ally protection and shields. That is the main source of this team, and of course we've got Lydia the Deathsiren to make us go at a 2-to-1 ratio, and Krisk the Ageless to extend our buffs. We are going to cover everything in this video today, so bear with me. But we got Brago, we got Krisk the Ageless, we got Valkyrie the counter-attack champion and for the shields, we got Underpriest Brogni to make those shields even bigger and to reflect Giant Slayer back to the clan boss. And then we've got Lydia the Deathsiren, the Faction Wars champion, to do that increased speed, the block buffs, the poison sensitivity, and everything that she just brings to the table is absolutely insane. So if you're excited for the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get right into it. Okay, so we're going to start with the main man that's on the screen, Ninja Turtle, Krisk the Ageless. I still don't have this champion on my account personally, so let's see what kind of builds we've gone through for this champion. So we've got a Star Wars kit here, but let's get into the skills first. So attacks all enemies, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. This does not apply on the clan boss, and just another disclaimer, all champions here are booked. Alright, it's a very endgame build, and you need the cooldowns on your champions to make this work. Then heading into the A2, attacks all enemies and places that 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Ally protection in this game, I would say arguably is the best buff for the clan boss. Come at me if you want to, but I really do believe that you really need ally protection to last into these kind of areas in the rounds, because we get to like stage 130 plus, guys. You cannot do that without ally protection. Of course, you need increased defense and all this other stuff, but ally protection, you need it in your team, you need it to make it work. There is other champions you can use instead of these. Honorable mentions would be Godseeker, Ineri and Taraagi the Frog. We can extend with Godseeker, use Taraagi the Frog. On the Hell Hades channel, I do believe he did a collaboration with ENG, and they came up with a composition with Taraagi the Frog as well. So if you want to go and check that out, you guys go for it. Then after that, places 2 15% continuous heal buffs on this champion for 1 turn and increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. This is what makes this work. You're extending those increased speed, the ally protection, the increased defense, the shields. You need to extend these buffs in order to survive to the later rounds. Then heading into the A3, places a provoke, which doesn't apply to the clan boss, but places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns, and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. The ally speed is important, but we've also got Lydia, so everyone does have this buff up 100% of the time anyway, so if he's placing it or Lydia's placing it, doesn't really matter, it's gonna happen anyway on everybody. Then at the start of each round, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 50% of this champion's max HP. Has a 100% chance once booked of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 50% decreased attack debuff on the attacker for 1 turn when hit. So this coincides with Brago, making sure that decreased attack stays up for the entirety of the run, and it works out really good in the long run. So let's get into the gear on Krisk the Ageless first. So we've got a Star Wars kit. If you're new here, or if you're not familiar with the kit, what it does is 30% damage taken from enemy AoE attacks. The main aim goal here is Guardian sets. So let me just go into here real quick, just to give it a mention. So it's been founded that this kit here, the wearer absorbs 10% of all damage dealt to allied champions, heals by 10% every turn. If you can get Guardian on a number of your champions, it's going to work out really good for your team. But let's just head straight back into Krisk here. So on the stats, we've got crit rate and accuracy, we've got speed and resistance, we've got speed, defense percent, we've got crit rate gloves. The reason for this is, it's kind of been founded that the way to get to plus 200 million, you need to start focusing on damage rather than sustainability. Once you reach the stats that you need to, which is around 4,000 to 4,500 defense, you can start focusing on crit rate, crit damage and all these stats that adds up damage over time. You have to kind of bear that in mind when you're making these compositions if you want to reach 200 million. And then we've got HP percent here on the chest plate and speed on the boots. The reason for this is, if you head into the main stats, you can see that we're at 4,200 defense, which is where we want to be. We don't need to be much higher than this. So then after that, what you want to do is head into HP to make sure that you can survive the big crits and last longer into the later rounds, because there's no point in having so much defense and not enough HP, because your run will drop off early and you'll get annoyed at yourself for not reaching your targets. So let's just head into these quickly. Accuracy on the banner, we've got defense on the amulet, then we've got HP on the ring. And then if we head into the total stats here, 61,000 HP, 4,200 defense, 239 speed, 100% crit rate, 110% crit damage, and a 210 accuracy, which isn't the best, but it's mainly for the ally protection and all the other goodies that he brings to your team. So Masteries, we got the offense tree, and then we got the defense tree heading down into retribution and deterrence. And I do believe that this kind of similar theme goes in all the champions here. So let's head into the next one. So it's going to be Lydia the Deathsiren, who you can acquire for free from the faction wars. If you have her, congratulations, she is an absolute game changer. So let's just head into the skills. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a fear. It doesn't really matter about that, but has a 75% chance of increasing the duration of any poison sensitivity debuffs for 1 turn. Then as a passive effect, attacks enemy champions with this skill whenever they place a free, stun, fear, or true fear debuff on an ally. So whenever the clan boss tries to do a stun, there's a chance to counter attack with this champion, and the number of attacks increase according to the amount of debuffs placed at that time. 1 attack for each freeze, stun, fear, and true fear. This doesn't really apply apart from the stun. And then on the A2, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance once booked of placing a 60% decreased defense and 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. Also places that 25% strengthen buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is what makes it work, guys, okay? Strengthen, increased defense, ally protection, shields from our other champions. You need all of these buffs to coincide to make sure you can last to these later rounds, and to have this in the same ability on a 3-turn cooldown, Lydia the Deathsiren is almost impossible to replace unless you use multiple champions. She kind of has it all in one, which is why we have to use her in this composition. So 30% increased speed, very important. Strengthen, very important. Then heading into the A3 here, attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 100% chance once booked of placing a 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. The second hit has a 75% chance, 100% once booked, of placing a block buffs and block active skills debuff for 2 turns. Block buffs is really good for the increased attack on like Spirit Affinity, and the poison sensitivity will coincide with our Valkyrie, who is built in a toxic set, which I'm going to show you a little bit later on. But once again, very solid A3 here. And then the passive won't really proc on this because we're not really going to be doing any revives and stuff. And then we got the resist in all battles by 100. Masteries, once again, offense tree, and the defense, very similar to the Krisk. And artifacts here, we've just got an off-piece set to make sure we can get the stats. Sometimes it's stats over sets. If you can build these champions in the way you want to without the set, you go for it, guys, but overall, it's a very solid build. So we've got a perception set with speed, we've got a speed set with speed again, we've got crit damage and accuracy, we've got crit rate on the gloves. I talked about the stats beforehand. Then we've got defense on the chest plate, speed on the boots, we've got accuracy on the banner here, crit damage on the amulet, and then we got attack on the ring. Then heading into the overall stats here, we've got 42,000 HP, 3,400 defense. Guys, she has no problem staying alive in this composition. The shields are just way too big for her to be mitigated whatsoever. Then 269 speed, 92% crit rate, 154% crit damage, and a 268 accuracy, which is where you want to be on the Ultra Nightmare clan boss. So increased speed, strengthen, decreased defense and weaken, poison sensitivity and block buffs on Lydia the Deathsiren, making sure we can reach that 2-to-1 ratio. So let's get into the next champion. So next up here, we're going to be talking about Underpriest Brogni, arguably one of the best legendary fusions we've ever had, and in my personal opinion, the best, because he can be used in absolutely anywhere, guys. Arena, the Doom Tower, the Faction Wars, the Clan Boss, which is evident today. Lots of things that you can cover with this guy, but we're talking about the Ultra Nightmare today. So what does he do if you're not aware? HP burn on the A1, and then we head into the A3 first because this is how we like to prioritize it. Places a block debuffs and a 50% increased attack on all allies for 2 turns. Also places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, and the shield buff cannot be removed. This skill right here keeps you affinity friendly, gets that block debuffs up, puts a nice shield on all of your champions, and it does reflect Giant Slayer back to the clan boss, guys. Bear that in mind, it's a very big help with damage, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown, which keeps it very consistent, and that's what we like to see when it comes to cooldowns. Then heading into the A2, attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance once booked of removing 1 random buff from all enemies. Once again, increased attack on the clan boss, it can strip that off for you, and 100% chance of removing 1 random debuff from all allies, increasing the value of shield buffs on all allies by 30% of the damage inflicted. So if you talk about his shield, Valkyrie shield, this guy is going to make that even bigger. What does that mean? You're going to last even longer because the clan boss is going to have a lot of problem getting through that shield. So once again, block debuffs, we've got a shield that reflects back to the clan boss, and then we've got an increased shield for our Valkyrie, who we're going to get into very soon. Then whenever an ally under a shield buff is attacked, reflects 25%, which I was talking about, of the damage inflicted back to the clan boss. And also the heals is very important here. So also heals the ally by 25% of the damage inflicted on the shield. So let's just say your champions are getting hit, your shields are starting to drop off. That mitigation from the shield is going to kind of transfer into healing, and then all of your champions are going to go back up to full, ready for the next shield to get put onto them. And then if there are multiple champions with this team on the same skill, only one will activate. We know this already. Heading into the Masteries, once again, offense and defense tree here, but with this one, make sure you go into the Giant Slayer, because this is what's going to add up to extra damage over time in your clan boss run. And then let's head into the stacks and facts of this champion. We got a double perception set and a double guardian set. Of course, you need a 4-piece set on this for this to work, but for this one today, we haven't got the gear, so we're just rocking with this gear. So we've got triple roll speed on the weapon, we've got double roll speed and attack percent here, we've got speed on the shield, we've got double roll speed with crit rate gloves, defense percent on the chest plate, we've got speed on the boots to reach the 2-1 ratio, then we've got accuracy on the banner, crit damage here, and then we've got attack on the ring. Once again, if we head into the main stats here, we've got 41,000 HP, 3,400 defense, so that allows us to head into here and put up that crit rate, crit damage, and make sure we can reach over 200 million. 270 speed here, screenshot, do what you have to do, and 270 accuracy on this champion. So let's head into the next one. Alright, so next up here, another amazing fusion champion. So Polarium thumbs up on the fusions recently. So Brago is one of those champions that's kind of one of a kind because of his skill set. So let's just get into it. Attacks one enemy, 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. Once again, coinciding with that increased attack on the clan boss. And then places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. There is hardly any champions, if not any champions, that can do it on a 3-turn cooldown that lasts 3 turns. And on top of that, Krisk is extending that, so it's never going to drop off. And then on the A3, places a 50% decreased attack buff on all enemies for 2 turns if Brago is under an increased defense buff. Of course, he's always going to be under increased defense, so decreased attack, you're going on that clan boss as long as you have the right accuracy to land it. So overall, very solid champion. And heading into his defense here, increases defense of all allies by 10% of this champion's defense. This passive is one of the best in the game for the clan boss. Defense is key. You want to stack that defense to survive into the later rounds. So Masteries on this champion, we got the offense tree and the defense tree once again heading down into War Master, because that's what we like to see. And then overall stats on this champion, we got 30,000 HP, 6,100 defense. A lot of you guys may be sitting there thinking, why have you stacked the defense so high? Having this and making everyone stack 10% with his passive, it works out really good. Then 200 speed, 97% crit rate, 210% crit damage, so this guy can smack really hard. You're going to see that in the run. And then the 241 accuracy to make sure we can land that decreased attack. So overall, very solid champion. And let's get into the final piece of the puzzle. And the final piece of the puzzle is going to be Valkyrie. Who doesn't want a Valkyrie? I've been chasing her for almost 3 years now. I'm never going to get her on my account, so I'm kind of happy to play with her today. So let's get into her kit. Attacks one enemy, decreases the turn meter by 10%. This does not apply to the clan boss. Attacks all enemies and places that elusive shield buff on all allies for 3 turns and a counterattack buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of this shield and the damage inflicted are proportional to this champion's defense. Of course, we've stacked her defense really high. We've got the passive from Brago to make it even bigger. It works out really good, and on top of that we got Underpriest Brogni making it even bigger, guys. And then we got the ally protection and the strengthen to make sure that we mitigate damage. You're going to be very impressed when you watch this run. And then the counter attack, of course, it adds to more damage over time. Then this champion's turn meter will be increased by 10% each time an enemy champion places a buff. Enemy champions will have their turn meters decreased by 10% for each buff they receive. And defense and faction wars by 33%. Which doesn't apply here today. So gear wise here we've got off-piece sets, and then we've got the toxic set, which has a 75% chance of placing a 2.5% poison debuff, along with that poison sensitivity that Lydia brings. we kind of worked out that this adds up to so much damage. You're going to see it. I keep saying it. We're going to get into the run very soon. But I can't express how good the toxic set is on this champion. Most people like to put it on Iron Brago. But through a lot of testing, we did find out that having it on Valkyrie works out a lot more beneficial. Especially with that double hit A1. See here, attacks one enemy 2 times. It does proc a lot more often. So yeah, we got speed and crit damage here. We got speed and crit rate and defense percent with a max substat glyph. Speed and crit rate. We got defense percent on the gloves, defense percent on the chest plate, and defense percent on the boots. She is the slowest of the bunch, I believe, and we got defense here, and defense here. And then heading into the stats here, we got 35,000 HP, 7,500 defense, which is whopping, 202 speed, 65% crit rate, 100% crit damage, and accuracy, resistance doesn't really matter in this build. We just want to stack that defense, make that shield as big as possible, and survive into the later rounds. And guys, honorable mention before we get into the clan boss run, when it does go to magic, we tend to use Ultan here. So if you want to find out about that, join in the Discord, just let me know, we'll be able to tell you how to set that up. But Ultan for magic, and then we use the other team for every other affinity. When it comes to void, let me just ping up the damages here. So this team works on nightmare and ultra nightmare and averages between 125 to 180 million depending on affinity and RNG. So it's really impressive. But today we are going to be heading into spirit, which is kind of the main pinnacle of how much damage we can kind of get for you guys today. So let's get to the exciting part and let's get into the clan boss run. Okay, so as you can see here, it's on Spirit Affinity. We got Iron Brago here in the lead to take the stun. He is going to be the stun target today. We got Krista Ageless, Valkyrie, Underpriest Brogni, and Lydia The Deathsiren. We're going to be going at a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning you're getting 2 turns for every 1 turn of the clan boss. Let's get right into it, guys. I'm excited to show you. Alright, so I am also going to throw it up here as well. But how you want to set this up is, you want to start off with an A1 with Underpriest Brogni. So let's just put that on. And then we're going to start off here with the A3 on Lydia The Deathsiren. And then over here, we're just going to put an A1. Then we're going to put the big shield on with Valkyrie. Then over here, we're just going to put an A3 with Iron Brago. Then you're just going to see the counterattacks going off here. Then what you want to do here is place the A3 on Underpriest Brogni, which is the block, debuffs, and shield. And then you want to put the A2 with Lydia The Deathsiren, increase defense, increase speed. And then with Krista Ageless, you want to go with the A2, extend those buffs and put the ally protection on. And then the hardest part, click auto and enjoy. So by turn 1, guys, it's a very simple setup. It's the same for all affinities, all clan bosses that you face, nightmare, ultra nightmare, brutal. Doesn't really matter who you face, but I hope you guys see the value of ally protection. I hope you see the value of putting strengthen and increased defense, and the value of the shields that we put on our champions. You're going to see the poison ticks going up that you can see right now with Valkyrie, with that toxic set. It's going to work out very good. It's going to be quite a long run, guys. I'll cut it down as long as possible, but enjoy the video. If you have any questions, join the Discord in the link below. A big shout out to Fisher for letting me showcase this to you guys today, and to anybody that created this composition. We got Pavo, all those amazing guys I mentioned earlier. See you at the end of the video, guys. 125.79 million. This is bonkers, guys. No unkillable. No unkillable. It just shows you how much ally protection works. Underpriest Brogni almost 1-keyed the Ultra Nightmare with 65 million damage. We got 62 million on Iron Brago, 21 million on Krisk, 48 million on Valkyrie. Without that toxic set, I'd kind of guess you'd see maybe 35 million or 38 million. It really kind of depends on RNG, but that poison definitely stacked. Then we have the 28 million on Lydia The Deathsiren, who helped us reach that 2-to-1 ratio that I was talking about. 2-to-1 teams for the win. You cannot do this with unkillable teams. Of course, there's many great unkillable teams out there, but on this channel, I really like to showcase Ultra Nightmare teams without unkillable. And that's going to be all for the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Give a big shout out to Fisher for letting me showcase this to you guys today. A big shout out to Pavo for creating this composition, and to people like Victor Tez that still like to push limits up to plus 300 million. It's very impressive, and bring on the Hydra boss Polarium. We're ready for it. We've kind of smashed this clan boss out of the park now. So take care, everyone. Have a great week ahead. Peace.